Jury selection is underway in the hush money case against former President Donald Trump, who has now become the first former U.S. president and the first leading presidential candidate to ever stand trial on criminal charges. The case is being brought 8 years after it allegedly happened and 7 months before the 2024 election. Now, we've just heard from the former president just moments before the trial began, and he says that the case is political persecution and it's an assault on our country. Listen.
This is an assault on America. Nothing like this has ever happened before. There's never been anything like it. Every legal scholar said this case is nonsense. It should never have been brought. It doesn't deserve anything like this. There is no case, and they've said it. People that don't necessarily follow or like Donald Trump said this is an outrage that this case was brought. This is political persecution. This is a persecution like never before. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And again, it's a case that should have never been brought. It's an assault on America. And that's why I'm very proud to be here. This is an assault on our country. And it's a country that's failing. It's a country that's run by an incompetent man who's very much involved in this case. This is really an attack on a political opponent. That's all it is. So I'm very honored to be here. Thank you very much.
Professor Jonathan Turley, he's one of many legal experts sharing their opinion on the case. And he argues that DA Alvin Bragg doesn't have a legal leg to stand on. Watch.
Everything about this case is, in my view, legally absurd. You know, this case is basically a state misdemeanor that had run out on the statute of limitations. And Bragg was forced, after he declined for a long time to bring this charge, to do so. His predecessor rejected it. And so they took a dead misdemeanor and bootstrapped it into effectively trying a federal crime. But the federal crime here under election law was rejected by the Department of Justice. They didn't feel that this should be charged. So you have this crazy case that's going to go forward, and it's going to turn on the testimony of people like Michael Cohen. And Michael Cohen just recently had a judge call him a serial perjurer. And he's going to appear as the center of this case.
So much to unpack here. Yeah. All right, walk us through what we need to know. What stands out to you?
Well, I'm not a lawyer, but here's what I've learned. Misdemeanors elevated to felonies, which is what Turley's talking about there. There's a statute of limitations that expired for this case. Did you know that?
Yes.
It was extended by a year because of COVID rules. Now, I don't know. We live in New York, right? Mm-hmm. Can you name a case in New York where that has applied? I don't know. There are parking tickets out there, or speeding tickets, maybe. Andy McCarthy, whose opinion I trust thoroughly, he said to Dana and me earlier today, he said, as a legal hallmark in America, the accused must know what they're accused of. Remember this elevated felony? He was acting to commit another crime. And what Turley says is right. The Department of Justice passed, and so did the Southern District of New York. The Southern District of New York had a chance to go after Donald Trump, and they passed. I mean, what does that tell you? I don't know necessarily if Bragg had to take this case. He could have waved it right through. Do you know what Donald Trump, you know what his voting percentage was in 2016 and 2020? You know it, Carly? 2016 was what?
10%.
Yeah, and 2020 it was?
12%.
All right, so I asked this question. Has Bragg brought a case that he can win? I don't know, but if he gets the right jury, there's a chance.
You never talked about it in the indictment. You still haven't told me. And if it's federal law, which we think that's what you're saying, then you have no jurisdiction over it, Alvin Bragg, let alone it ran in the statute of limitations.
Yeah.
So that's why my money is that this is going to be thrown out, because what fair, impartial, normal-minded American will sit in front of that and say, yes, this rises to the level of 8 felonies. It frankly doesn't. It should have been tossed out years ago. But unfortunately, we've already spent millions as taxpayers paying for this.